The only reason I found out was because she forgot to turn off screen mirroring. We were watching that dumb baking show she liked, the one where everything is whimsical and nobody actually wins anything meaningful. I hated it, but I sat there like usual, nodding and pretending to care, because that's what you do when you're married and trying to fix things that are probably already broken. Halfway through the episode, the TV flickered. The app crashed or something. That's when I saw it. Her phone home screen popped up. Notifications. Not just one. 3 messages. Same sender. Name saved as Laundry Guide Basket, which, I later learned, was a cover so obvious it made me feel stupid twice. Once for not noticing earlier, and again for thinking it could have still been saved. I didn't say anything right away. I froze. She was right there next to me, her legs tucked under mine like nothing was wrong, while her phone, in front of both of us, flashed messages like, "Wish I was under that blanket instead of him. Next time, no talking, just your lips." And the one that burned itself into my memory. "He still doesn't suspect, does he?" That was when I laughed. Not out loud. I just exhaled differently, you know? Like when your brain finally catches up to what your gut has been screaming for weeks. She looked over. "What?" I didn't answer. I just stood up, walked to the kitchen, and opened the drawer where we keep the corkscrew. Not because I needed wine. We didn't even have any. But because I needed a second to not look at her and punch a wall instead. She followed me in. No guilt on her face. Just irritation. Like I'd interrupted her evening. I handed her the phone. "TV says hi." That's when her face finally dropped. Her shoulders locked. Her mouth opened, then closed. She stepped forward. And when I instinctively reached toward her, not to hurt, just reflex, habit, desperation maybe, she hissed. "Don't touch me right now." I remember those words more clearly than our vows. So I stepped back. I nodded. I walked upstairs, packed one bag, and left. She didn't follow. She didn't call. Not that night. Not the next. But now she's calling. And what she wants. That comes later. I didn't slam the door when I left. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even say goodbye. I think that's what haunted her the most. That silence. That absence of drama. Because if I had yelled, if I had broken something, she could have framed me as the irrational one, the emotionally unstable husband, the problem. But I didn't give her that. I just disappeared into the night like a side character in her movie who finally realized he didn't matter to the plot. I drove for hours without a destination. Just away. Gas station to gas station, coffee to coffee. I watched the sky go from orange to black to that deep, bruised blue that only shows up when you haven't slept and the world feels like it's tilting sideways. I ended up at a motel that smelled like bleach and broken dreams, paid cash, and sat on the bed staring at a muted infomercial for an hour before I even took off my shoes. The thing is, and this part still messes me up, I didn't cry. Not yet. I felt nothing. Numb. Like someone had vacuumed out my insides and left just the skin, walking around on autopilot. I kept thinking maybe I overreacted. Maybe Laundry Guy was just some pathetic fantasy she never intended to act on. Maybe I should have confronted her with fire instead of frost. But then I checked the bank app. Joint account. Hers. Same day. $438. 20. Hotel Grand Vista. Not a motel. Not a dive. A real hotel. 4-star. Downtown. Room service charges. 2 entrees. Champagne. A charge for valet. I just stared at the screen, and in the quiet of that bleach-stained motel room, I finally felt it. The heat rise in my chest like acid. Not anger. Not yet. Just confirmation. Cold, hard confirmation that I was nothing more than the idiot husband paying for her date night with another man. I still didn't call her. I didn't text. I didn't scream. I just screenshotted the charge, sent it to my email with the subject line, evidence, and locked my phone. And still, a part of me wanted her to reach out. To explain. To lie even. Just to see if she'd try. But she didn't. Until day 4. That's when she finally texted me. The same woman who couldn't look me in the eyes, who flinched at my touch, who flirted on my TV while sitting next to me. The message was short. "Can we talk? Please?" No apology. No explanation. Just, please. And because I'm weak, because I was still in love with the ghost of who she used to be, I said yes. Not because I forgave her, but because I needed to watch her lie to my face. She asked to meet at the coffee shop near the library. The same one where we used to go after church on Sundays. Back when we still pretended to be something close to happy. It was neutral ground, I guess. Public enough to keep things civil, quiet enough for whatever performance she was rehearsing in that empty house. I parked half a block away, mostly because I didn't want her to see my car and think I'd shown up early like some desperate golden retriever waiting for a pat on the head. I stood across the street watching her through the window. She'd already ordered. She was seated in the corner, picking at the lid of her cup. Her leg was bouncing under the table, a nervous tic I hadn't seen since her mother died. But it wasn't the fidgeting that caught me. It was the damn sweater. Gray. Oversized. Loose at the sleeves. I bought it for her the week after her mother's funeral. She had curled up in it every night for weeks, said it made her feel like she was being held without having to talk. She'd cried in it, slept in it, laughed in it once when we watched that terrible French film with the mime who stole a chicken. And now she was wearing it like a prop in a guilt theater production. I walked in slowly. No dramatic entrance. No long stare. Just enough eye contact to make her shift in her seat. She stood up, awkwardly, like she wasn't sure if we were hugging. We weren't. She sat back down. I didn't order anything. "You look tired," she said, voice gentle. I smiled. "I've been sleeping in places where the towels are afraid of the water." She winced. Good. She was supposed to feel that. There was silence. And then, like clockwork, the act began. "It wasn't what you think," she started. I cut her off. "What do I think?" She opened her mouth and closed it again. She had nothing. No script. Just panic behind her eyes. She wasn't expecting calm. She was ready for rage, for drama. And without it, she floundered. "I was lonely," she said finally, and it hit harder than I expected. Not because it was a valid excuse, but because I realized, so was I. I had been lonely in that house, in that marriage, for months. Maybe longer. But I didn't run. I didn't whisper to strangers under covers we hadn't replaced since the wedding. I didn't plan it, she added. It just happened. The second oldest lie in the history of cheating. I pulled out my phone, opened the banking app, and turned the screen toward her. Did the champagne just happen too? Or the valet? How about the spa charge from 2 nights ago? Was that a coincidence? Her face crumbled. She looked like a kid caught shoplifting candy. Not sorry she stole, sorry she got caught. And then, for the first time since I walked in, she got honest. "I didn't think you'd find out." There it was. The truth. Not about what happened, but about who she was. It wasn't the betrayal that broke me. It was the ease with which she accepted my stupidity. She'd gambled on my loyalty, my weakness, my love. And she'd almost won. That's when I stood up. No shouting. No final speech. Just stood. She grabbed my wrist. "Curtis," she whispered. "Don't." And I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Don't touch me right now." Her mouth fell open. Her grip loosened. And for the first time in years, I walked away first. I wish I could say walking away from that table felt powerful. Like I was some romantic movie hero rising from the ashes. But the truth is, it felt awful. I got in my car, shut the door, and just sat there with my hands gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing tethering me to reality. My heart wasn't pounding. It was dragging. Like it had to carry the weight of everything she didn't say. Because that's the thing. She never said she loved me. Not once during that whole conversation. She said she was lonely. She said she didn't mean to. She said she didn't think I'd find out. But she never said she loved me. And maybe that hurt more than the cheating. I stayed in the car for a while, just watching people pass by. A couple walked out of the coffee shop holding hands, laughing about something dumb. She leaned on his shoulder. He kissed the top of her head. It should have felt like a punch to the gut. Instead, it felt like another language I'd forgotten how to speak. I started driving, but I didn't go back to the motel. I went home. Yeah, I know. I know how that sounds. Weak. Predictable. But it wasn't to see her. I had something else in mind. Something I'd never done before, boundaries. The house was exactly as I left it. Blankets still folded on the couch. My slippers still by the door. Her keys on the counter. The mug I bought her in Portland still in the sink. It looked normal. That was the worst part. How normal everything looked while my world was actively collapsing in real time. She wasn't home. I didn't expect her to be. I went upstairs, opened my laptop, and started changing passwords. Joint bank accounts, split. Streaming services, logged out. Amazon. Canceled the Prime and wiped the address book. Insurance. Called and took my car off the shared policy. Phone plan. Moved to solo billing. It took less than an hour to erase 10 years of entangled life. She probably thought I'd never do it. And maybe, before that coffee shop meeting, she'd have been right. But now I was finally listening to the version of me that had been screaming under the surface for years. The version that said, stop trying to fix what she's actively breaking. I was halfway through setting up a P.O. box when I heard her car pull into the driveway. I didn't panic. I didn't move. I just sat on the stairs and waited for the door to open. When it did, she looked surprised, like I was a ghost occupying the space she thought she'd scared away for good. She opened her mouth to speak, but I beat her to it. Don't. Just listen. She froze. I'm moving out by Friday. I'll send my lawyer's info. You don't have to contact me anymore unless it's legal. Her face contorted like I'd slapped her. You're ending it? Just like that? And there it was, the real her. The version that expected to cheat, lie, manipulate, and still be the one with the final word. I'm not ending it, I said. You did. The day you invited someone else into what used to be our life. I made a mistake. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so insulting. Mistakes are dropping your phone in the toilet. Mistakes are forgetting an anniversary. This was a campaign. I don't hate you, I added, but I don't recognize you. And I don't think you ever really saw me. That's when she finally cried. Not when I caught her. Not when I walked out. But when she realized I was serious. When she realized I wasn't fighting anymore. That I was giving her exactly what she asked for, distance. She reached out, said my name, begged. But I stepped past her like I didn't hear it. And for the first time in years, I didn't look back. It took her exactly 6 days to come unraveling. Not immediately, no. At first, she leaned on pride. She sent cold, one-line texts about division of assets and mature separation, pretending to be calm, professional, unbothered. She probably thought I'd come crawling back once the silence set in. She thought I needed closure. She didn't understand that silence was my closure. But 6 days later, on a Thursday night, she showed up at my temporary place. Not the motel, but the small furnished unit above the bookstore I used to work at in college. The rent was cheap, the Wi-Fi sucked, and the place smelled like old paperbacks and forgotten dreams. But it was mine, and she hated it. She knocked. I didn't answer at first. I watched through the peephole. She wasn't wearing makeup. Now, that might sound like nothing. But to understand Maribel is to understand that she never, ever, left the house without full presentation. Even during the pandemic, even for trash runs. So seeing her standing there in an oversized hoodie and faded joggers with her hair in a lopsided bun told me more than any message ever could. She was unraveling, but I wasn't ready to see it. Not yet. I opened the door halfway. Her eyes were puffy, red. I didn't know where else to go, she said. That's not my problem anymore, I replied. Flat, quiet, measured. She stepped forward like she was going to invite herself in. I didn't move. She hesitated. I haven't been sleeping, she said. I nodded. You chose the wrong bed. That landed. She flinched like I'd hit her, but I didn't follow up. I didn't comfort her. That was the old me. This version, he was learning to let consequences do the talking. I ended it with him, she said suddenly. Desperate. Like that would solve everything. I tilted my head. Him? As in one? Just the one? She looked down. Exactly. I didn't need the details. I didn't need a list. I just needed confirmation of what I already knew. That what I lost wasn't a wife. It was a performance. A character she played until she got bored of the script. I made mistakes, she whispered. I took a long breath, then said the quietest thing I've ever said that somehow hit the loudest. No. You made choices. Repeated ones. And you knew they'd cost you something. I'm just making sure that's true. Silence. And then, tears. Real ones. Not performative. Not crocodile. The kind you cry when you finally understand you don't get to write the ending. She begged to talk. Asked if we could start over. Said we could go to therapy. Said she'd do anything. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't crying because she missed me. She was crying because she lost control of me. I didn't slam the door. I didn't raise my voice. I just told her I hoped she'd eventually figure herself out. And then I closed the door with the same quiet grace she once mistook for weakness. She stayed outside for almost 20 minutes. I never opened it again. I wasn't posting anything remarkable, just random pictures, mostly. A coffee mug, a sunset from the bookstore roof, a shot of the alley cat that kept showing up and scratching the window like it had a grudge against me personally. Nothing dramatic, nothing poetic. But suddenly, people were watching. Not my people. Her people. Jade. Tessa. Even Nora, her yoga friend who once told me I had sad dad eyes and then never spoke to me again. They weren't just tapping through. They were watching all the way to the end. Consistently. It was subtle at first. 1 or 2. Then 4. Then 7. The views went from single digits to triple overnight. I wasn't stupid. I knew what that meant. Maribel was talking, spinning her version. Or worse, playing the wounded card, making it look like I was the one who gave up. And for a second, just a second, it made me want to scream. But I didn't. Instead, I posted a photo of my new apartment key. Just the key, on a blank counter. No caption, no flair. Just freedom, hanging on a ring. By the end of the night, she'd texted me. Are you seriously moving on already? No punctuation. Classic Maribel when she was angry. Everything blurred together like she was trying to outrun her own grammar. I didn't answer. That silence. It must have eaten her alive. Because 2 days later, she showed up again. Not at my apartment. At the bookstore. I was restocking the psychology section when I heard the bell over the door. I knew it was her. I didn't even have to look. There was something about the silence that followed her into a room. It wasn't peace. It was tension. Like everyone subconsciously held their breath around her, just in case. She walked straight to me. No shame. No hesitation. The same woman who once accused me of being too emotionally transparent now stood in public with bloodshot eyes and a trembling lip, trying to act composed. I need to talk, she said. I'm working. Please. She followed me as I moved books, as I typed inventory, as I ignored her. It wasn't until she saw my manager, a soft-spoken guy named Dylan with more patience than a therapist, that she lowered her voice and asked if we could speak outside. I agreed, only because I didn't want a scene inside a store that smelled like old paper and second chances. We stepped out back, near the dumpster. She turned to me and said, I think I'm having a breakdown. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't see my wife. I saw a stranger who'd lived in my house, slept in my bed, lied with my last name. I think I'm falling apart, she said again. And I replied, I think you already did. This is just the echo. She broke. Right there. In that alley behind a used bookstore. Cried like a child. Curled into herself. No makeup this time either. Just raw, runny-nosed regret. I didn't hug her. I didn't comfort her. Because now, I was learning that empathy doesn't mean you hand your heart back to the person who shattered it. I don't know who I am without you, she choked out. And I said, that was never my job to fix. She stayed on the ground as I walked away. I didn't look back this time, either. But I'll be honest with you, I thought about it. For the rest of the day, I thought about it. And that scared me more than anything she ever did. It was in a box of cables. That's the part that messes with me the most. I wasn't looking for it. I was trying to find the charger for my old camera, the one I used back when we still went places worth photographing. I opened the box, expecting a mess of tangled USB cords and outdated adapters, and there it was. White envelope. My name written in her handwriting. No stamp. No fold. Unopened. I just stared at it for a minute, unsure if I even had the right to open it anymore. But curiosity is a cruel thing. I peeled it open and pulled out the card. The front had 2 little cartoon mugs with smiley faces. Still better together. Inside was a message she never gave me. Curtis, I know we've drifted. I know I haven't been easy to love lately. I've felt disconnected, selfish, scared, all of it. But I want to fix us. I want to remember what made us us. You've always been the steady one. The heart of this home. I see that now, even when I don't show it. I love you. I'm sorry. Let's try again. No signature. No date. Just that. And the worst part? The date on the receipt taped to the back of the card. 5 months before I caught her. 5 months. She wrote those words and never gave them to me. Maybe because she changed her mind. Maybe because she started seeing him the next week. Or maybe, and this possibility burns most, maybe she meant every word but couldn't face what it would take to back them up. I don't know why that card hit harder than catching her messages. Harder than hearing her cry behind the bookstore. Maybe because it confirmed something worse than betrayal. It confirmed hesitation. She had a chance. She had a window. A clear, honest window to tell me the truth. To stop. To reach for my hand before I reached for hers. And she didn't take it. She chose silence. And now she couldn't stand mine. The next morning, she sent me an email. Subject line. Closure. Inside a list of things she said she owed me. Money. Items. Apologies. Each paragraph was cold, formal, sanitized, like a business memo from a woman who used to laugh in my arms. But at the bottom was something unexpected. I'm seeing someone. It's not serious, but I thought you should know. I stared at that line for a long, long time. Not because I was jealous, because I realized she didn't write that for me. She wrote it to test me, to see if I'd flinch, to see if I'd cave. I didn't. I didn't reply. Instead, I packed that card, the one she never gave me, in a small padded envelope, added a sticky note that said, "This is what real regret looks like," and dropped it in her mailbox. No return address. Nothing else. And in that moment, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel cruel. I felt nothing. And finally, that felt like freedom. It's been 3 months. The weather's starting to change. The mornings are colder, but not sharp. More like a whisper than a slap. The bookstore smells like cinnamon now, and I've started helping with their event nights. Last week, I read poetry out loud for the first time since high school. My voice shook for the first few lines, but nobody noticed. Or if they did, they didn't care. I moved into a new place. Not big, not fancy, but it's mine. There's no joint lease, no his and hers towels, no empty silence with someone 2 feet away. Just peace. Just music playing from my phone while I make coffee in the morning. Just my name on the mailbox. Just a bed I sleep in alone, and sleep well. I still think about her sometimes. Not with anger, not with longing. Just like a chapter in a book I don't regret reading, but wouldn't choose to reread. There are moments when a scent or a song or a particular kind of laugh on the street pulls a string I thought I'd cut. But it passes, and I let it go. Because the truth is, I don't wake up angry anymore. I don't walk around wondering what I did wrong. I don't replay old conversations trying to spot the exact moment everything cracked. I don't check who's watching my stories. I don't check hers at all. She sent me a message 2 weeks ago. Just one line. "Are you really okay?" I didn't answer. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I am okay. And when you're finally okay, you don't owe anyone proof. I'm seeing someone new. Slowly. Carefully. Her name's Elise. She wears mismatched socks and talks to pigeons like they're co-workers. She knows about everything. I told her up front. All of it. And she didn't flinch. The first time she reached for my hand, she didn't pull away. And I didn't either. Not this time.